Good to see you.
Alright there, Revenants, welcome back to Code Vein and the Road to 100, where today we are back in the very beginning of the game, and we are going to be starting a run that is a mashup of sorts. I've been getting a lot of requests, and I decided to kind of put all of them kind of into one run here. And so we are going to be running solo, obviously, as you can tell, and also what we're going to be doing for most of the some to most of the builds, we are going to be focusing on the focus mechanic. No pun intended there. That just kind of came out organically. But we are going to be exploring about what is focus and what can it do for us, and why we would try and build around it. And if you try and build around it, is it something that is actually worth building for compared to, you know, going for a different kind of setup? Now, obviously here in Vein, anything that you kind of build out for, and if you push it to the limits, it does kind of become overpowered. However, as I've said for years now, Code Vein is very situational. So what we're going to do is we're going to be having our adventuring build, and then we're going to be having a boss build. So we are going to separate the two because I get a lot of comments about what about this for the boss, what about that for adventuring and stuff. And so we're going to kind of split them. And we're going to have an adventuring build, which gets us through, you know, all of this. And then we're going to have a boss build for just that one single fight with the boss. So it'll be, and they'll all kind of tie together, meaning that we'll be looking at focus mechanics a little bit here and there. But for the most part, we're going to be looking at an adventuring build for each area that we could come across while being solo, while at the same time, you know, going for a boss build for just specifically that battle, and has nothing to do with adventuring. So but it will kind of tie into the same mechanic of how do you develop focus, how should you build for it, how can you build for it, is it effective when you're solo, and you know, is it very powerful enough to actually make it worth your time? So we'll be investigating all of that from the outset here all the way through 70 stars, and then we are on the very, very down slope to get our 100th star, but we still got a lot to explain, and I'm glad that this was one of the mechanics that was brought up as a request to start looking at, you know, solo things, while at the same time looking at focus mechanics, while at the same time looking at separating out your builds for specific encounters. So for right now, we are going to be running Fion. As you can see, we are going to be focusing. This is going to get very memey very quick. We are going to be looking at when you use your weapon to do launch attacks, is that beneficial? Is that a viable means of damage? Is that a viable means of survival? So on and so forth. The launch mechanic has some problems with it. Due to mainly the time that you are attacking and the enemy goes into the air. Most of the time there is iframes, but there is a very, very beginning startup window that is like maybe 30 to 45 frames long, not quite 1 second long, and it will leave you open for damage from the enemy. So that is very, 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 very dangerous during that point in time. So if you are surrounded by enemies, it is not a good time to go for a launch attack. Every single focus bar that you get is, let's call it 100 points of focus, and a launch attack counts for 50 points of focus potential, or it's like 45. So you can get 2 launch attacks per every focus bar if you take advantage of the focus mechanic immediately upon entering the focus state. If you delay a little bit, then you miss that window of opportunity to get 2 launch attacks immediately. So keep that in mind as you're going through. Now, the reason we are picking the Inferno Blade is because this is a very, very high amount of damage, all stacked into one little weapon here. And the interesting part is that this blade shares something that only 2 other blades in the one-handed sword category share as well, and that is the Executioner, the Inferno Blade, and the Sunset Sword. These 3 blades on the launch attack mechanic, this attack right here is a 120% multiplier to your base damage. So all the other one-handed swords are 105%. So this is 15% higher than all of those blades. If you don't have the Inferno Blade, I recommend going for the Executioner. And if you can't find the Executioner or it doesn't work for your build, you can always rely on the Sunset Sword, even though it is, you know, a little bit less. So here we would be at 825. Here we're at 685. So it is a considerable step down from where we are now. However, it does have that 120% increase to its multiplier. But as you can see here, the Black Saber is 985. It's 985 damage, whereas the Sunset Sword, okay, so here 369 and 474. So it's considerably higher because it's a strength A and this is a strength C. Same dex, so they are kind of apples to apples here for all things considered. Let's see, 585 and 757. So you can see that the gap expands ever so considerably as you get away from the Sunset Sword. But if you're looking for that extra 20%, so here, you know, 585 times 1.2, let's see, that's about 120 more, 145 more or so. So plus 145 to that would be, you know, like 725. And then here you would only get 5% more, which would be like 35 damage. So you'd be at like 800. So here, you know, 725 and 800. So it does close the gap pretty considerably. However, then you have your Inferno Blade, which is higher, and then you get the 20% on this blade specifically for the launch attacks. So anyways, lots of explaining here about what we're doing, but it's better than trying to explain it while everything's happening, so you can understand it as we go through to get it all out of the way, so we can just focus on dodging and ensure that we are using our abilities here appropriately. So anyway, let's get on with the show. Now, the important thing here is time crunch, as that will get us into a focused state. Okay, now we are focused, so we can launch this fella. And then we can launch this fella. So, okay, that works pretty well, right? For what we're doing right now. And so keep that in mind. That is not, you know, the level of intensity that we are going to be able to do this against everybody and everything. Okay, so we are focused now, and let's find a dude. Okay. And as you can see, 6,400 damage. That is pretty good, all things considered. And now we are stuck with you know, no focus again, so we have to use our Blood Veil to go ahead and get focused, which is kind of interesting, all things considered, but it is how we can go about doing this. Okay, so now let's go for a launch. Now if you hit 2 enemies, you will not maintain the launch state. So let's see here. Oops. Okay. I just got super comboed because I missed the dodge. Okay. Let's go ahead and heal up here. Okay, let's see if this guy attacks us. Okay. And let's go ahead and launch this guy. Okay. So it is a very interesting battle mechanic. Now for these guys, obviously it's, you know, doable, but if you do miss a dodge mechanic or something, obviously you pay for it with exceptionally dearly life blood juices, just because of the fact that you are left open and vulnerable to literally anything and everything that wants to go on. Okay. And now he is going to... Oops. Okay, let's go for... Okay. Ouch. And as you can see, we were in the animation, he blocked us, and we died. So it does become a very difficult mechanic overall to actually execute in practice, rather than just walking up and doing a backstab. It becomes pretty tough overall to execute flawlessly for a very long period of time. Okay. And let's go for bridge, and let's get over here and get a launch. Okay. And one more. Good. Okay. So it's very important that we actually get these guys attacked in a good amount of time to make sure that we are not running out of either focus time or actual damage buffs and such, because that can be pretty rough, all things considered. Okay, now let's run over to this guy real fast. We're not gonna get it. Oh, we did get it. Okay. Oh, that is so very excellent right now. Okay. Good. And we are now ready for this fella. And you can see that we're a little bit overpowered just for the amount of damage we do on actual hit. Okay. So good. We are able to get these guys focused up here so we can go for some beautiful launch attacks. Okay, and the iframes are kind of difficult to see sometimes. Okay, that was unfortunate we got hit there. Okay, and you can see that dodging as well is totally viable for what we are doing and how everything is going. So that's very nice, very important. Okay, let's go for a charge accelerator here, because we want to get focused. Whoops. We want to get focused right away so we can launch these guys, and we cannot launch the squids here, the grind masses, so we are just going to avoid them since they are the one enemy that we cannot attack with what we are doing right now. So you can see that our I-core does increase pretty considerably, which is nice. However, it does take some time to actually get used to this full mechanic and how you actually go about engaging with these guys. Okay, so we can do that, and then we can dodge if he's going to attack us. Okay. There we go. And if they die before we actually get the attack off, then we don't get the attack or the drain animation, which is kind of unfortunate for us. So that's always something to keep in mind. And here we will... Oops. Ouch. Okay, let's go ahead and heal. Okay, we are just far away from everything here. Okay, and one more. Oops. Preemptively dodging. Okay, and now we can launch. Whoops. That was a total mistake there, because we want to have enough that we can run over here for this fellow and get him launched up for a beautiful, good attack as well. Okay. Oops. At least we're focused. Okay. Now these guys are extra weak to blood damage, so very helpful here for us. And you can see that these guys are pretty weak to what we have going here. Now this is going to be a little bit rough here because we have these two guys right here. And if you know anything about multiple groups of enemies here in Vane. It is all about the fact that you do not want to get cornered by any group of enemies, because super bad things can happen when you get attacked by multiple groups of enemies. That is for sure. So let's go for some super buffs there. Okay, let's just kill this guy. Okay, let's dodge here. Okay, and then let's go for a attack here, and then we will launch, and then we will try and get around this guy and go for a launch from the back. Okay. Okay, didn't get it, so we'll just go for the backstab and move on. So as you can see, if you are going for a launch only kind of setup and style here, it is pretty awful, but as a build as is, it is a very strong build overall for this area of the game. Okay, and as you can see, we are more than capable to burn these guys down very quickly and without cause or consequence. So it's very nice. And as we continue into the next area, it's all about pretty much the same. It's just it will get a little hairy just because of the fact that we have multiple enemies here that we will need to contend with. So this first fella, it's not really important that we engage him with dodging. We'll just go ahead and take care of him, and I guess we can go for a little bit of dodging here. Okay, and let's see if he'll attack again. Okay, and then we can go ahead and get our launch attacks in. It is a pretty satisfying way to run these guys. However, it is very nerve-wracking. Okay. Alright, and then one more. Oh, okay. There we go. And then launch. Good. And then we can go for a launch on this fella over here very quickly. We do not want to engage that guy until he is kind of alone. So we'll go for this, and then we will go for the other gunner to make sure that he doesn't sneak up on us here. And then we'll go for the invincibility there, which is very nice. Okay, now is the tricky part to actually attack this guy when he is attacking here. Okay. And one more attack. Okay. Did the double spin. Okay, so now we can go for launch attacks, which is nice. Let's go ahead and heal while he gets up. Okay, so about 14,000 damage that we can do. But if we just want to go ahead and slash him down, it becomes a very quick endeavor indeed. Now let's take a look at our damage right now. We are at 1505 with 20% blood, as you saw there, and we can go up another 25% with overdrive active. So pretty good, all things considered here. Now we are making our run to the boss now, so we will switch to our boss fighting abilities here. So this is the queen or the ribcage setup that we can go for here that will make mincemeat pie of Oliver. And so we will have to control ourselves a little bit to make sure that we are going for dodging and getting all of our abilities, because everything we have here is all about focus. And so that was how we go about adventuring with a launch attack setup. There's nothing really amazing about it. It's just a very high skill ceiling type of build set, because you have to wait for the enemy to attack and then dodge. So very, very high risk, high reward kind of engaging there. And this guy is just building up our I-Core reserves for Oliver. No real attack here happening, but the important part for the focused setups is that you have to really pay attention, whoops, to everything that is happening around you, because the minute you lose consciousness of everything that's happening around you in every single circumstance, then you will lose basically all of your health, because it is max difficulty here, and that is how max difficulty rolls. Now here, running to the end, there's really no reason to fight these guys, so we will just continue on our merry way, because they don't offer us anything, and they leash back to their original positions pretty quickly. There you go. Right before you get to the missile, it's pretty simple to get through those guys. Okay, so for Oliver here, we just want to go for as much of these things as we can, just to make sure that we are, you know, up on our damage as much as possible. And we will go ahead and heal up here, and let's head into the fight. Now, the reason we are normal mobility is because you have a higher chance of return for your reward here, of getting focused here. So let's go ahead and try and get focused. Okay, and one more. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and load up here on some I-Core. Okay, now this should be interesting. Sorry, Oliver. Okay. Goodbye. So very powerful here for being focused against Oliver. It's a little bit crazy how you can engage in these kinds of setups with like a gifts only type of thing, or go for, oh, I need that one, or go for these different builds and setups and everything to make sure that you are engaging with the mechanics of the game, and that being, you know, the idea of focus. So pretty amazing, pretty incredible. And wow, we just got almost 500,000 of haze there for Oliver. That's very nice. And the focus mechanic is definitely one that's kind of underutilized, but the idea of maintained focus with a gift only kind of setup, with focus being the thing that you're going for, is that this is a insane multiplier to your ability. It's a 70% increase to the time. It's normally 20 seconds, but you get 34 seconds. So it's one of the few multipliers in Vayne that is like insanely high. So if you were having something like this where you had Dark Impulse, 30% increase to your damage, and we are at 1657, and if we have Dark Impulse active and we have Dark Shout active, that is 1657 times 1.3 times 1.5, so 3231 is our dark value. So that is an insane amount of damage potential for something like for something like Twilight, when it's paired with a gigantic multiplier. So it's basically a 2 times multiplier for Dark Impulse and Dark Shout all together multiplied up. So very impressive there of the things that we can do to Oliver. And that was about 60,000 HP that we just went through there very quickly, and there was no real pain or problem in it. And that's the difference between an adventuring build and a bossing build. So that was a very bossing heavily build, specifically tailored for what's his face, Oliver himself. And we could have gone even higher damage if we wanted to and try and go for a Merciless Reaper, but then we would have had to give up a few things here. So we could have gone for a Merciless Reaper, and we could have done, instead of increased gift speed, we could have gone for all stats up, as that would have brought us up to a C in Fortitude, which Merciless Reaper needs a C in Fortitude. So we could have done that and gotten even more crazy damage on Oliver and ended him very, very quickly. So focus builds are pretty insane for boss fights. They're not so great for adventuring, but we will continue to discover a few more of them. So make sure you check the description for both of these builds, as we won't be highlighting one over the other. It's going to be one for adventuring, one for bossing, and I'm going to label them in such a way that you'll know which is the adventuring build and which is the bossing build, so you don't get confused when to use which one. I mean, feel free to use them however you wish. These are just my understandings of how the multipliers work for when we are going for focus builds. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.